Hello, Internet. Let's get right to it. So, what is a humanoid robot? A humanoid robot is a robot that, kind of as the name suggests, is modeled very closely after an actual human. Typically, the ways in which it can move, everything from the fingers to all the other joints, are modeled exactly after humans, and that will kind of allow these robots to interact with machines and systems in the same way that an ordinary human can. And what makes this so powerful and such an advantage over other types of robotics is the fact that these type of robots will be able to drive vehicles. Like imagine that a construction company is trying to have robotics operate their machinery and operate their excavators. Rather than needing to purchase a robotic excavator, which would likely be, I don't know, $10 million, instead they can just, if not much more expensive, instead they can just purchase a humanoid robot, maybe the same robot that they have dig in a hole with a shovel in some other spots. They can have that robot actually drive their excavator. So there's some enormous advantages to this model of robots, and that's why it's becoming increasingly obvious that the future of robotics is in humanoids. Okay, so let's pay attention to a second to this infographic, I suppose. There's the CEO of NVIDIA, and this is a framework they've laid out, and this is the type of thing that people should be paying very close attention to. So all the way to the left, we see perception AI. So that's kind of what AI started as, and that's kind of speech recognition, medical imaging, other types of, cat recognition, systems like that. And this kind of stuff started coming out at the beginning of this millennia, about 15, 20 years ago. And then in 2022, we moved into the generative AI age. And of course, that's what ChatGPT is. That's what we're in right now. We're in the generative age. The next type of AI that we're going to start seeing is agentic AI. I'm likely going to make a video about this, but this is very powerful. There's some systems like ChatGPT Operator and Anthropic's Manus, I believe, that are agentic AIs. This is still very much in development, but essentially what agentic AIs are going to do is, rather than with ChatGPT, it's you give it a prompt, it generates an answer, back and forth prompt answer. When you have an agentic AI, it's much more like there's an employee working for you. So although it doesn't have a physical body, it's still able to take instructions as if it's an employee. And it's essentially the same as if you had like an online employee. So you can imagine that people are going to start creating AI agents that are going to replace their accountants, or maybe like certain legal systems, or certain HR or reception systems. So that's kind of the next age, is going to be agentic. And then beyond that, we're seeing physical AI. So that's self-driving cars, general robotics, and this is where humanoids fit in. Humanoids are going to be very dominant in the physical AI world. Okay, so here we are. The most important part of this video is going to be reviewing humanoid systems that exist right now. So perhaps the most famous and possibly the first humanoid robot that's really going to be mass manufactured is going to be Tesla's Optimus robot. So here we can kind of watch it. I'm just kind of scrolling through YouTube Reels right now. We can see it's kind of folding close. Tesla has very advanced dexterity in the fingers of their robotics. They've modeled it very closely after real humans, even using a carpal tunnel and having motors in the forearms to control the fingers. Here it is talking to that guy. Here it is playing here. So the actual mechatronics, meaning like the motors and mechanical systems of the Tesla robot, here it is walking and kind of catching its step, are very advanced. The mechatronics is there with Tesla's Optimus robot. Okay, so the next robot that I want to talk about here is the Boston Dynamics Atlas robot. So you can kind of watch this video here. That's all over the internet. The acrobatics that this robot is capable of are extraordinary. I would kind of classify this robot as a semi-humanoid robot because it is, it's got a giant cage around it. And I believe that this robot is actually based off hydraulics, and they actually have decommissioned it. So this is now their old robot. And they've recently made a new robot, which is this one, this other humanoid. And similar to Tesla's robot, just the mechatronics are very advanced and the agility is very advanced. So we're seeing these two companies really show that the actual mechatronics is no longer an issue. We have arrived. The technology for the movement is here. There's no doubt about that anymore. And to keep in mind, these are all very recent developments. Okay, the next robot I want to talk about, this is the Neo robot. So this is an extraordinary robot, and I believe it's the first humanoid that's actually available for purchase. And it's meant for domestic use. So here it is vacuuming. And I noticed that they kind of covered it in a cute sweater. I don't know if that makes it more or less creepy. But yeah, it's kind of been optimized both physically and in terms of software for domestic jobs. So it waddles quite slow. You don't really have to worry about it running into you. It's able to vacuum, it's able to put away dishes, things like that. And again, this is incredibly new technology. This came out in September of 2024. I believe that's when they released their first one partially to market. So yes, that is the Neo robot. Okay, yeah, so I talked quite a lot about robots with advanced mechatronics, which is definitely historically one of the main hurdles was, can we actually make robots move like humans? And as Tesla and Boston Dynamics have proved, the answer is yes, we can. The next hurdle, which is really a parallel hurdle, is the actual software. It's cool to have a Tesla robot that can do backflips, but if I can't get it to do anything useful, why does that help me? So that's kind of where the AI comes in. The mechatronics alone is not AI. Where the AI does come in is with the actual human interaction, and that is everything from ingesting speech, turning that into some sort of text or tokenization, running that through a model, and then generating output actions. And there's another company, I'm sure everyone's familiar with OpenAI. There's a company called Figure One, and they have a humanoid robot. And although the mechatronics of Figure One is not nearly as advanced, they are working very closely with OpenAI to make very advanced actual humanoid robotics software. So that's the next thing we're going to discuss and show off right now. So here is the Helix robot by Figure One, and you can watch this video. It's very interesting. This is 2 months old. In the video, this gentleman, he drops off groceries, and then he asks the robots to put them away. He doesn't tell them where they go, and these robots are scanning them. I guess they're recognizing that the apples and the milk should go in the fridge, and that the other items should go in the pantry. So this is actual autonomous activity. And you can kind of see, if you watch these robots move, they're much slower. They're a little more robotic-y than Optimus, just because their mechatronics is less advanced, and their fingers are not really the same degrees of freedom. So the mechatronics is less advanced in this robot, but this is where we're seeing that AI come in. Okay, so now we're moving on to kind of robotic software and the future of robotic software. So we kind of talked about the mechatronics, and we kind of showed off some of the current systems that exist. And NVIDIA, they recently released, this is 3 months ago, they released a new framework, I guess, called NVIDIA Cosmos, and it's tied into Omniverse, which is still, it's been around for a few years, but it's still very much in development. And essentially what this allows you to do, without getting too technical with this, is it's going to allow you to train your humanoid robot by taking a video of yourself doing something, and then it will be able to move that using the Cosmos Omniverse stack. Cosmos will actually turn that one video into thousands of multiple videos using data augmentation techniques. So now all of a sudden you have thousands of videos, and using those thousands of videos, you can train robots. And then Omniverse is actually like a platform where you can simulate your robot. And inside of Omniverse, they have a system called Isaac, and Isaac is a physics simulator. So I highly recommend checking this out. If you kind of watch this video, you can see that they're showing off how you can have a real life video, and then you bring that into the Omniverse. You have a full simulation of that in the Omniverse, and using Cosmos, you can generate thousands of videos and simulations of that for training your robot. So this is the type of thing that's going to turn training robots from right now, especially in the past, before 3 months ago, it was all about coding, right? You need to be a software engineer. But now they're moving into more human interactable, kind of like how ChatGPT, you don't need to code to use ChatGPT. And this is going to allow companies to start making humanoid robot software, imagine in the construction industry, without actually requiring any software skill. They just need expertise in what they're trying to train the robots to do. So this is an enormous technological leap. One more note as well about Tesla's Optimus robot, and I did allude to it a little bit, but it is likely to be the first one that's going to be mass manufactured. Elon Musk, although personally I'm not the biggest fan of him for political reasons, but he was making some comments about how they're going to be, they already make electric vehicles at enormous scale, and he was commenting on how once they kind of iron out certain details, it will actually be much easier to make a humanoid robot than a car. And it makes a lot of sense. A humanoid robot is significantly smaller than a car. It's much more simple in certain dynamics. So this is likely going to be the first robot that we really see in the hundreds of thousands, millions of units. I've pretty much shared everything that I cared to about humanoid robots here. Without kind of giving too many of my opinions, I'm strongly of the idea that this is going to become a very revolutionary technology, the 21st century. I believe we're going to see millions of humanoid robots around the world. I believe that although there's no doubt that humanoids are going to displace jobs, we're also going to see many new jobs being created. Like you're going to have jobs like humanoid robot supervisor. You're going to have jobs with people training humanoids. And again, these jobs are not going to be just for engineers, just for software engineers, because the way that the technology is evolving, it's going to be human interactable. So if you're a person who wants to get involved in this industry, you don't need to have a mechatronics engineering degree or a software engineering degree. You're going to be able to get involved just by kind of being a person. Like if you're someone who uses ChatGPT very well today, you're very likely going to be the type of person who's going to be able to prompt humanoids effectively. You're going to be able to train humanoids effectively. So there's going to be lots of opportunity here. And that I kind of want to share that here today, guys. These are my opinions on humanoid robots.